Hi, I'm Jakira Black, and this is the fourth day I've been reading Brave New Will by Aldous Huxley. I have read 3 chapters today. I am going very, very slowly on this book. It is a lot to take in. It might say it's a brave new world, but I think it's a very harsh, cruel world. And yeah, there does seem to be, I said already, that does seem to be something in each chapter that is shocking, and definitely at least 2 and probably 3 things in the 3 chapters, not 3 things, just 1 in each, definitely really, really horrible. But yeah, I've read 3 chapters today. I would have read more. I am quite getting into it now. I wouldn't say I'm enjoying it, but it's very, very intriguing, and obviously it's a classic and it is a good book to read because this is a sociological examining really of how society could turn really, really bad, you know, if we allowed it to. So anyway, the 3 chapters I read today, there's the idea. The first chapter was very much concentrating around the idea that everyone conforms, and that someone that fits outside the conforming box, someone who wants to be an individual, who wants to do things their own way and wants to experience life as we experience it, you know, someone who doesn't want to have sex on the first night, you know, wants to experiment on, you know, control and stuff. And yeah, it's like, and the girl in it, who is very much conforming, is really shocked about his attitude, that, you know, she thinks it's morally wrong. And, you know, he takes her out and in a helicopter, and you know, he stops the helicopter to look at the sky, and she's freaking out because she doesn't like it, and she wants to go back to the safety of her world of, you know, sort of everyone conforming. She doesn't like seeing nature as it actually is. She wants everything sterile and as she's been brought up with. So, you know, that's one thing in that first chapter that I read. Also, it has become apparent that part of the fact that part of the reason they're conforming is they're actually taking drugs. They're having like strawberry smoothies or something, and, you know, it's got stuff in it, it's got a gram of something or whatever, and they're taking tablets as well, and they, you know, they're sort of like, so they can't feel things or get nervous or worried, you know, or sort of freak out when they're in a situation where they might not be used to it, you know. But they're, you know, they're dulling their senses by taking drugs, you know, which is part of the reason why they're conforming, because it's not even that they don't know any better, it's that they're so drugged up to the eyeballs that they can't, you know, it's just how they are, and they're probably hooked as well, because obviously that's how drugs work. So obviously there is someone in charge of all this, and there is a talk about the Ford, and he seems to be like the leader of this group, these people, but he seems to have like an almost godlike status to him, and obviously him and, you know, are in control, you know, and they're, you know, making the normal people conform, but they're drugging them and they're controlling them and them, you know, getting them to do as they want. And then there's this individual called Bernard, who, you know, isn't of that box, you know, who feels that he wants more, that he wants to experience life, he wants to experience his own life, he wants to do things how he wants. which is totally out of the norm, because that is not what is supposed to happen. So yeah. And then the second chapter, I mean, you'd think by now that, you know, sort of like all these things would have, you know, stopped being so bad. But in the next chapter, there's the talk of a reservation of savages. And in the reservation of savages, there are people who are like Indians or like Christians, or these set groups that haven't wanted to live like the bigger majority want to live, you know, or they've not necessarily not wanted to live like they have, but they've not been allowed to. You know, it makes you wonder, like, you know, obviously you've got the reservations in America, you know, where Indians live. Is it similar to that? Have they been pushed into these places and they have no choice? The fence around the reservation is electrified. Anyone that's born in the reservation is not allowed to leave the reservation. There doesn't seem to be any medical treatment or modern standards or anything, you know, sort of like running water, clean clothes, blah blah. I mean, obviously there would be clean clothes to some degree, but they're very much reliant on a more sort of rural, sort of savage way of life. You know, it shows a group of people singing and dancing around in a circle like a war dance, you know, and the girl that's gone with this Bernard is getting freaked out because she thinks it's really weird, and she's forgotten her drugs, so she's getting really, really freaked out about it, you know. And it's just like, you know, these people, you know, and then there was also the thing that, you know, she was freaked out because there was this really old man, and she was like, well, why does he look like that? We have really old people, but why does he look that bad? And, you know, Bernard's saying about, you know, our old people are cared for and they're treated, and, you know, they're kept young, they're kept physically looking young, that, you know, their bodies are controlled, and, you know, everything is sort of like, you know, it's just they're kept young. But then he says that they get to a certain age and they just die, whereas this man is a lot older, but he's led a normal life. He, you know, yes, he is old, yes, maybe he hasn't always had good medical treatment, but, you know, his body hasn't been messed with to such a great degree that eventually it has failed. I mean, obviously it will naturally fail, and that's what life is like. Everyone's body fails in the end. But this society is very much that that there's only so much that the body can take, and it's probably all the drugs and everything, but all the treatment and everything, and then the body just fails. When they get to about 60, the body just goes. Whereas, like, the people in the reservation have lived harsh but healthy lives and are living a lot longer. But yeah. So anyway, the last chapter I read today was still set in the reservation, and they meet this young man who has blonde hair. Well, everyone else is got black hair, and the ones that they've seen so far are Indians. So he's got blonde hair, and they're sort of like, well, why are you here, you know? And it turns out that he was actually born on the reservation, and anyone that's born on the reservation is not allowed to leave the reservation. Now, earlier on in the chapter before Bernard went to this reservation, he talked to one of his workmates, and his workmate said that he'd gone to the reservation a long time before, and he'd gone with a girl, and she'd gone for a walk and gone missing, and he thought that she'd probably died, and supposedly they'd looked for her but couldn't find her, and then he just went back to society. and didn't remember her. You know, or he did remember her because he was affected by that, but he felt that he wasn't allowed. It was the rule that he wasn't really allowed to be affected by it. He had to forget that it happened. It didn't matter that it happened, you know. But this young man that they see, who is wearing sort of the savage clothes but has blonde hair, is he was born on this reservation, and his mother is the girl that went missing, because she had gone missing and she'd got hurt, but she'd been looked after by the savages. But obviously the people, the sort of like these people that are running the conforming and stuff, just didn't bother looking for her, and they just left her there, you know. And she'd got pregnant by this man who'd left her, and had to give birth without any medical intervention, you know. And also because birth isn't natural in this world except for in the reservation, you know, this was something that she had never expected to have to experience, and she had to give birth. And then her body failed, and this young girl that's with Bernard is like really shocked about how saggy her body is and everything. And yeah, so like I said, a lot of really harsh ideas in a very intriguing book. I am sort of enjoying it, but I'm also not. I had hoped to have read 75%. I think I'm probably about halfway, so about 50%. But yeah, I'll get there in the end. And probably be all the better for it, because obviously reading a classic like this, you know, it gets you thinking for writing, and I am enjoying it. So yeah, I am actually enjoying it, even though I'm not enjoying the writing style. I'm enjoying how the author has corrupted the world in his book, and sort of like everything is just so awful. So yeah, so I will do another video tomorrow, and hopefully I'll read a bit more tomorrow. So bye.